You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan. And today I have a return guest who has been on the show previously. And we had such a good time that I've asked her to come back on and we're going to talk in a little more depth about some of the things that she does and how she works with people and helps people. So I hope you all enjoy this. And her name, just by the way, is Tracy Pleschourt. And welcome back, Tracy. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's so fun to be back. I would, just as a reminder, I am a life and weight loss coach. And so I kind of do a circuit where I show up on a lot of other people's podcasts, specifically coaches. And often I can share with coaches kind of the framework or the methodology that I use to help clients really solve whatever problem they're dealing with, whether it is mental, emotional, physical, metabolic. We've got a framework that really works well. So I'm back to dive a little deeper with you on, let's solve some problems.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Out of curiosity, is this something that you kind of learn some of it other places and put things together and kind of I'm just kind of curious how you develop the framework.
Yeah. So I am a graduate of the Life Coach School, and Brooke Castillo is the founder of the Life Coach School, and she teaches a framework called the model. And so that was really the springboard into my understanding of how the brain works, how it creates thoughts that lead to emotions that have you behaving, creating your results. As I was coaching my clients more on a result of weight loss most often or metabolic health, it became clear that, there were a few tweaks to that model that would help my clients gain more traction. So I call it solving the mind math, which is the same concept of your thoughts lead to your emotions that generate behaviors, therefore getting you your results. And so I use that foundational concept to teach my clients. And then from a metabolic standpoint, I'm a student of several different functional medicine programs, doctors, and I'm a student of myself, to be quite honest, which is probably what has afforded me the most learning that I have kind of to share. And so we have a methodology that we follow in regards to metabolic health as well.
Okay. And do you have other coaches who work for you, with you, or is it just yourself?
Yeah, I'm actually the only coach at Self-Made You. We have mentors, our students who have graduated from our Self-Made Mind and Body program, who have now kind of mastered their skill set and want to kind of take their learning to a deeper level through mentoring, inspiring, troubleshooting with other students. And so I'm the only coach currently. And I work alongside of mentors. We have advisors on staff. These are the people that really help the students understand what their next best step is. Not unlike, regular institutions that offer, that kind of support. We try to duplicate what we know works. And so, I'm the only coach on staff. Then we have an advisor on staff. And then we also have a clinical psychologist on staff. And so she helps from the perspective of, the people that come in through our doors who might be a little bit below baseline, where they're really working through things like trauma. They're the thoughts and the feelings and behaviors are really getting in the way of their daily life. She can offer some referrals to get them back to baseline. Doesn't mean that they can't work with us. We have many, many people who choose coaching in conjunction with therapy. And that has been, a really great combination. But she is a perfect referral source, and also offers, upon entry of Self-Made You, a mental health assessment so that you understand where you're at in regards to your level of stress, your level of depression, and your level of anxiety, because those are all three things that can get in the way of planning. And planning, making decisions, and creating a plan is definitely a big piece of our program. And so we want to set you up for success, give you an idea of where you're at. And then you can, of course, measure your progress after putting into place some of our resources.
Okay. And so it sounds like people continue working with you and your group. As they've kind of resolved.
Yes. So we tend to bring people in through the weight loss door, although not everybody, but I would say the majority of the people come in through the weight loss door, and they end up staying in a membership type capacity because they want to continue to apply this methodology and go on to create and achieve bigger goals. So I would say a lot of people stay with us for personal goal achievement, but the majority ends up staying with us for professional growth and achievement, which I think is really
interesting. Yeah. Wow. And is it all women, or do you have some men in there?
We have men in the program. I think that I tend to attract more women. I mean, my demographic is what I tend to attract. And those women often are married to men, which leads to another client is how that interestingly happens, but not always, but that we do get a lot of family members because, when something, really has a major effect on your life, you often share it with those people who you love most because you want to expose them to that same sort of effect. And, so I do get a lot of friends and family. Our whole business is based on referrals. If I'm being honest, it's ironic because I come out of the marketing industry and I would say that very little of our business growth could be contributed to, I would say what you would think of conventional marketing, it wouldn't be contributed to that. It would actually be contributed to the referrals that we get.
Well, that's the best kind of marketing there is.
Right.
I mean, it's still marketing.
That's
the kind. Yeah, that's the kind of marketing, especially every coach wants.
Exactly. Yeah,
because they're all walking
billboards.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And I just coming out of almost 20 years in the advertising industry, working at an agency, not the kind of professional, service that I was used to thinking of in regards to marketing and advertising. But am I glad that that's where we've landed? Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Referrals as a source of marketing any day.
Oh yeah. It's so much easier. And yeah, I mean, you're not trying to convince people to.
Right.
They're already convinced before they walk in the door.
Right. Yeah. And so they all bring, their own.
Oh yeah.
unique thoughts, their own unique feelings, their own unique behaviors. But the beauty of that is we can work through any of it. I can teach them how to self-coach. And ultimately, that's what Self-Made You does, is we teach people how to self-coach so that they can like reduce their dependence on outside sources, whether that's a person, whether that's a medication, whether that's a, a program. I want to teach them how to become dependent on themselves and learn how to solve their own problems. And again, we just have that framework that we teach, and then we practice and we refine it and we check our work and we make sure that it's still working for us. And, right before this call, I got off of my own coaching call with my coach. And so it's never a finished process. It's an ongoing, refined process that you continue to master.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And once you get that connection with someone, I don't want to say you get dependent, but you kind of do, because it's somewhere to go. It's someone to talk to. It's someone to, which can really turn people's lives around.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So is there anything that I can demonstrate? How to use the methodology?
Sure. Why don't we, well, since you're in weight loss, that whole weight loss area, it seems to me that a lot of people, especially in the demographic who listen to my podcast, which is skews a little older, that you get to a certain age, and if you haven't already gotten to a good weight, that at that point it's a lot harder to get it off. And if you have gotten it off, keeping it off. So I was thinking maybe we could do something around that, losing and I'm not talking about people who need to lose 30 pounds or something like that. It's the people who really only need to lose like 5 or 10 pounds, but just can't seem to.
Yeah. So if somebody was to come through our doors and they kind of presented with, being overweight, by a few pounds, not, or not being able to get off, recently gained weight. And
especially after the current pandemic, I think a lot of people have that problem.
Yeah, especially during that time. And so I would ask, why is that a problem? Why is it a problem that you've gained pounds and that you can't seem to get that off? Because I really want to get to the root thinking. What is the thought? Why is that a problem? So many of us think that a circumstance of, gained 2 pounds, 5 pounds, or 20 pounds, or 100 pounds is the problem, right?
Right.
People would agree that they think that's the problem. But the real problem is actually the thought that they're having about that circumstance that's making them feel out of control or at a loss, or, maybe defeated, right? Their feeling might be like kind of behind the 8 ball. They're feeling confused. So what we want to do is really understand that the circumstance is actually not the problem, because that if that circumstance was a problem, if we just put whatever the weight is, say you're normally 135 pounds, and after the pandemic, you haven't been able to get below 140.
Yeah.
That circumstance, if 100% of people wouldn't agree that that's a problem, then it's probably not a problem. That's just a circumstance. Those are just numbers. And you can choose to think differently about those numbers, just like the person next door is probably thinking differently about those numbers. It's not inherently bad, right? It's just you're choosing to think something about the number that's making you feel something that then has you showing up behaving in such a way. So it's really important to understand, why is that a problem?
Yeah.
So if you were like stepping into the shoes
Yes.
of somebody who is experiencing this,
Okay.
what would you say the problem or the thought, why is that a
Mhm.
problem? What do you think they would say?
Well, because I keep trying, and it just the pounds just don't come off, and so then I start thinking about it, as you say, and thinking
And
more
that
and
makes
more
you
about it.
feel. And so how are you feeling?
Well, it makes me feel unsuccessful. I can't think of what the right, whatever the other. And
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not really like a failure, but it's a I feel trying to think what discouraged.
Discouraged. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then how do you show up? Like, what are the things I would see you doing or not doing when you're feeling discouraged?
I probably would be maybe eating again.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would probably not have as much energy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in
Low
my life.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
not moving as much, probably eating more, which
Uh-huh.
makes perfect sense why we're not getting off the weight, right? Why we're
Uh-huh.
maintaining at that weight. And do
Right.
you see how it's not the circumstance that's the problem? The problem, actually, when you can see it in black and white like that, you
Mm-hmm.
can see that the actual problem is that feeling of like inadequate or defeat or confusion, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that is leading to behaviors that are completely like misaligned or contrary
Mm-hmm.
to the goal that you're actually looking to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
see that?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when we recognize that the real problem is not that circumstance of being overweight, that the real problem is how we're feeling about
Mm-hmm.
that, the thought that we're having and the
Yeah.
feeling that we're experiencing. When you really understand that and you believe that to be true, then you can kind of reverse architect it and you can be like, oh, okay. So how do I want to feel about that circumstance?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I want to feel curious.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I want to feel in control. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
want to feel empowered. Maybe I want to feel equipped. Maybe the thought is, I'll figure this out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And how does that make you feel?
Oh yeah, that would make me feel a lot more empowered.
Mm-hmm. Which then,
Yeah.
if I was a fly on the wall watching you, what would I see when you're feeling empowered?
I would probably not be thinking about eating. I would probably be thinking about doing something else.
Probably like researching, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Tapping into resources,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
looks entirely different than low energy, not moving as much and eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe go to the gym or,
Yeah. Now, I do want to just point out that if you're listening to this and you're like, well, duh, that makes total sense that those are the actions that are going to lead to weight loss, whereas eating and, low energy is going to lead to maintaining a higher weight than you want. And I would agree with you. That does make perfect sense. And that's why you have to learn through application. You have to see how your unique thoughts are creating your unique feelings, which have you behaving in such a way. Because yes, you could read in any book that you need to move more and eat less to lose weight, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But until you see how that application actually causes your effects, your experiences, your results, you probably wouldn't believe it. You'd probably be like, yeah, I know that.
Duh, right.
But that's not how it works for me. And so you would need to see what is the thinking and the feeling that has gotten you to where you're at, to what you are currently experiencing. So we role played it.
Yeah.
As if, you were actually thinking and feeling this. And if you were actually the person who believed, I'll figure this out, you're the person who will actually feel empowered, and you're the person who will actually show up tapping into resources and creating a different result for yourself. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense. The reason, and you're kind of poo-pooing this, it's because you're not applying your personal story of what it is that you're thinking, feeling, and doing. And that's where the mind math is so powerful, because I could sit here and talk all darn day, and I could give you all sorts of metabolic advice, but talking and actually learning through somebody talking at you versus learning through application are two totally different things.
Right.
And so that's why solving the mind math, really understanding how your thoughts generate your feelings and have you behaving, is so critically important. It's the first place to start of how you're actually creating the results that you're creating.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh no, it's makes perfect sense. In fact, it goes along totally with the same kind of coaching that I do, just different vocabulary. Which the bottom line, and I think this is also what you're saying, is that until the person sees it, they won't do anything about it.
Yes. And if it remains abstract, it remains confusing.
Oh no, absolutely. Because then because once they see it, then the thing to do is to have them, well, what action are you going to take on it?
Right. Yes. And so that's why I like to have visuals. So if your clients want that visual, they are more than welcome to print it off on my website. It shows you that framework. That might help them really see how their own thinking is creating their results. And there's instructions that go along with that.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, we're going to put all that in the show notes as usual.
Excellent.
So, no, I think that, what you're saying is so important, because I think our culture and human nature, quote unquote, always likes it better when they can blame somebody or something else.
Right. That's
for
the
it. Yeah. And you and I both know that does not work.
Right.
It doesn't get you anywhere except deeper down the hole.
Right. Yes, exactly. So I think, for the people who want to roll up their sleeves and do the work to get different results, that is a concept that they have to try on. That's a belief that they need to really work on, that the default is to blame it on something outside of you.
Oh, yeah.
The way that you can really create change in your life is when you take the responsibility for your unintentional and intentional results.
Yes.
Change everything.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And be willing to look at it.
Exactly. Yeah. So many people are afraid to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And fear is just an emotion. We're so afraid of feeling afraid.
Yeah.
That when you really stop and ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? It's just an emotion that's not going to kill us.
That's right. That's right.
When you recognize that you're actually capable of feeling it, you find empowerment simply through that.
That's absolutely. And as you say, it's a thought which brings a feeling. And, it sounds kind of simple to say, but, if you change your feeling, the thought will then change.
Yes.
As well. Right.
Yes.
So, and the feeling isn't you.
Right.
And really neither's the thought.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the concept of just being the watcher of your thought, which is Eckhart Tolle's
Yes.
one of his foundational kind of principles. And
Yeah.
because the minute you start identifying as your thoughts, it can really send you into kind of a spin.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's interesting how many practices, if you want to call it that, are grounded in that.
Yeah.
But the reason why there are so many of them is because we all hear things differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it has to be something that talks to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I know that, there's always a lot of people, well, so-and-so says that. So why, what's different about, well, it's not really different, just the vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
It just hits people differently.
Yeah. 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 And I think to your point, you and I are so aligned in what it is that we coach. We just say it differently and
That's
in
right.
hopes of connecting with more people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it's, and it's such an important message. It's just so mind blowing or, life changing.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I think you and I both agree on because we both had that happen in our own lives.
Yes. Yeah. Well, keep doing the good work, my friend.
Yes, you too. And I will say that, wrap this up in the usual, which is that neither of us are medical people, and this is not to be seen as medical advice. And if you are having some medical issues, particularly having to do with weight or, that's actually, stops you from getting around or whatever. There are extremes in all this. Please reach out to Tracy, reach out to me and get some medical help at the same time, because it's what's necessary to live a better life. So thank you again for being on the show, and
thank you for having me.
I will see everybody next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.